noticed this unusual alignment of Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. It doesn't happen launched on September 5, 1977, on a Titan 3E Centaur rocket. There's also something more human, the golden record. Even though it launched after its twin, Voyager 2, it ended up moving faster and eventually passed it. In 1979, it reached Jupiter, and that's when things really shifted. First time anyone had ever seen volcanic activity somewhere other than Earth. Titan, engineers had to make a major call. They changed Voyager 1's path, and that choice ended up meaning it would never go to Uranus or Neptune. Years later, in 1990, Voyager 1 did one last thing before shutting its cameras off. As it kept going, it reached the invisible edge of our solar system. First time a human-made object had ever left the solar system. Space is just a quiet place with no sound, no borders, and no real end. And in all that darkness, there's this small machine that just keeps going forward pretty calmly, pretty endlessly. It's more than 25 billion kilometers away from Earth now, and it's still doing its thing. That's Voyager 1, the farthest object humans have ever made. Its story kind of starts back in the 1960s, when scientists noticed this unusual alignment of Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. It doesn't happen often, like once every 176 years. Because of that alignment, one spacecraft could visit multiple planets just by using gravity instead of fuel, which was honestly a pretty practical idea. That eventually turned into one of NASA's more ambitious missions, not only to check out the planets, but also to see how far humanity could go. Voyager 1 launched on September 5, 1977, on a Titan 3E Centaur rocket. The launch wasn't perfect. There was some issue in the rocket's second stage that could have messed things up, but the spacecraft adjusted its path on its own, basically fixing things within seconds. Kind of shows it was built to handle stuff. It's not just a spacecraft, really. It's like a full scientific lab that runs by itself. It's got this 3.7-meter high-gain antenna, 16 thrusters, a bunch of instruments, and a nuclear power source called a radioisotope thermoelectric generator. So yeah, it was made to deal with pretty rough conditions. But inside it, there's also something more human, the golden record. It's got 115 images, greetings in 55 languages, sounds from nature, and music from all kinds of cultures. It's not really just data, it's more like a story. A message for anyone or anything that might come across it someday. Pretty much saying, yeah, this is who we were. After it launched, Voyager 1 started heading away from Earth. And then, the next day, it looked back and took this really nice picture of Earth and the moon together, kind of like a quiet little goodbye. It kept going and crossed the asteroid belt, which is full of rocks and debris, but it didn't hit anything at all. Its path had been calculated well enough that it just went through without any issues. Even though it launched after its twin, Voyager 2, it ended up moving faster and eventually passed it. In 1979, it reached Jupiter, and that's when things really shifted. What it found changed a lot about how we saw the solar system. It took detailed photos of the Great Red Spot, that big storm that's bigger than Earth. It picked up lightning in Jupiter's atmosphere. And the surprising part was discovering active volcanoes on Io, one of Jupiter's moons. That was the first time anyone had ever seen volcanic activity somewhere other than Earth. Voyager 1 also found faint rings around Jupiter, which scientists weren't expecting at all. It picked up some new moons too, like Thebe and Metis, and showed just how strong Jupiter's magnetic field really is. But Jupiter didn't just reveal things, it kind of helped out, using its gravity like a slingshot to speed Voyager 1 up and send it towards Saturn. No extra fuel or anything, just physics doing its thing. By 1980, Voyager 1 made it to Saturn, and once again it shifted what we thought we knew. Saturn's rings, which people used to think were pretty simple, turned out to be way more complex. Thousands of ringlets, gaps, all sorts of detailed structures. It found new moons too, like Atlas, Prometheus, and Pandora. But the big focus was Titan, Saturn's biggest moon, this mysterious place covered in a thick orange atmosphere. Voyager 1 figured out that Titan's atmosphere is full of nitrogen and even denser than Earth's, with the possibility for some pretty complex organic chemistry. To get a closer look at Titan, engineers had to make a major call. They changed Voyager 1's path, and that choice ended up meaning it would never go to Uranus or Neptune. Instead, it got sent off the planetary plane toward the edge of the solar system. Then, years later, in 1990, Voyager 1 did one last thing before shutting its cameras off for good. It just turned around and looked back. From billions of kilometers away, it took a picture of Earth. Not as a big planet or anything, just a tiny pale blue dot sitting in a beam of sunlight. That picture ended up becoming a pretty powerful symbol in human history. Carl Sagan described it as everything we've ever known, every person, every story, all on that one little dot. After that, the cameras were shut down to save power. Voyager 1 wouldn't take another photo again. As it kept going, it reached the invisible edge of our solar system. In 2004, it crossed the termination shock, where the solar wind starts slowing down. Then it moved into the heliosheath, which is this turbulent region at the edge of the sun's reach. And on August 25, 2012, it crossed the heliopause, the point where the sun's influence ends and interstellar space starts. That was the first time a human-made object had ever left the solar system. Voyager 1 wasn't traveling among planets anymore. It was moving between the stars. Right now, Voyager 1 is over 25 billion kilometers from Earth. It's going about 17 kilometers per second, heading toward the constellation Ophiuchus. We can still communicate with it, but there's a delay. A signal from Earth takes more than 23 hours to reach it, and another 23 hours to get a reply. So even a simple message takes almost 2 days. Over the years, Voyager 1 has dealt with a lot of issues. Things like memory problems, weaker thrusters, and power slowly dropping. Still, engineers kept finding ways to get it working again, even turning on old backup systems that hadn't been touched in decades. At this point, it's not really just a science mission anymore. It's more like a steady story of endurance and survival, showing what people can do across an enormous distance. But nothing lasts forever. Its power source is fading, and by the late 2020s, the instruments will start shutting down one at a time. Sometime in the 2030s, it'll just go quiet. Eventually, we won't hear from it anymore. But Voyager 1 will still keep moving along, drifting through the Milky Way for a really long time, millions, or maybe even billions of years. It'll just be out there, quietly carrying a message from Earth. And maybe, somewhere far away, someone will come across it. They might listen to that golden record and hear the sounds of our planet. And in that moment, they'll understand that at one point in this huge universe, we existed.